because I knew it was going to be late already when I asked Cyrus to come on. I was like,
oh, shut up.
Doing this shit on time. I was like, we are not. Now I get to know what ocean feels like.
Look. I understand. I understand that you have an opinion on this, but I
have an opinion every time you do Hammered Out.
I'd like you to know that it's been noted, and it's not in the same category as where I put ad hominems tweets. But
so with us is the lovely Cyrus. Cyrus, did you bring the bread today? I think you and Detryck could have some. Yes, you saw Detryck's face. He was like, bread. Detryck's like, bread.
Bread is here.
Does have his own channel, Cyrus. Nate Brody, who also has his own channel and is a lawyer, and I want to say former prosecutor or AG. I want to say prosecutor, right?
No, I'm a former prosecutor.
Former prosecutor. And Detryck Von Doom, who has been integral in the Louisville protest, right down to quite making the media for it, didn't you, Detryck?
Oh, God. It was like, hey, you're in the news. And I'm like, what news? Al Jazeera.
That was nice, seeing an Al Jazeera link, and here's Detryck's face. Like, he wasn't even trying to be the nice one. He was like, what? And I'm like, I'm so proud of you. I was so proud of you that day. And yeah, Detryck's on the ground, lives in Louisville, and is, like I said, a really integral part. Spends many days up in Injustice Park. Knows, like, what has been going on down there. Today we're going to cover the grand jury indictment of Breanna Taylor. And my kid is going to play Jeopardy in the background, and you guys are going to hear him screaming out answers because it's early.
I have a question.
In the form of a question.
You asked, like, why is your kid so loud? But I have a question. He shares genetics with you, right?
Message.
We all know that my kid is exactly like me. And it's not fun sometimes to look at a little version of you that has a point to argue at every turn. This is why bedtime is at 8 o'clock at night on weekends. So for those of you who don't know, the Breanna Taylor grand jury indictment came down. It was 3 counts of wanton endangerment, none of which was against Breanna Taylor. Not
No.
But a wall got justice.
But a patio window got justice. I believe it has come out now that at least 1 to 2 neighbors in the other apartments were white. And this is now who they are being charged with wanton endangerment for. Nate, would you like to explain, because you're the lawyer, so you could probably explain it better than me, what wanton endangerment is?
Well, here, most states call it like reckless endangerment, where if you, the classic example is, let's say if I drive a car down a crowded street at 100 miles an hour, and I know that there's like a parade going on or something. I may not intentionally want to harm anybody, but the act of driving the car that high rate of speed in that particular situation causes an environment in which if somebody is injured, the likelihood of that happening would be high. And so the law says is that if you don't have that intent to harm someone, that's not an excuse for putting someone in harm's way. And that's what happened here. The officer who was outside the apartment building, when the first shot happened from Breanna Taylor's boyfriend, when he shot at the officers inside, the officers returned fire. And the officer outside didn't know who was firing. So he didn't know if all those shots came from the officers, if all those shots came from the boyfriend. He just heard shots. So instead of him trying to evaluate the situation or see in, he just fired into the apartment. Now, if you just do that, your bullets don't stop. They keep going. So that's what happened here. The bullets just continued to go. Now, one thing I think a lot of people miss with this case is that if any of his bullets would have actually hit Breanna Taylor and killed her, this officer would be from the charged with murder, because that's what the boyfriend. He just heard someone, and it would be he would have done it recklessly because he didn't see the situation. Where the other officers weren't charged because they saw the threat, they saw the guy with the gun, and then they shot supposedly toward the threat. With this other officer just kind of shooting blindly, so that's why he was charged with 3 counts of reckless endangerment. He was just shooting blindly into a space. And most officers know, you know, if you can't see where you're shooting, you just don't shoot, because you could hit children, and that's what happened here.
Right, and I believe it's actually against LMPD training and standard operating procedure that if you do not have a clear line of shot, you don't have an opening, you don't shoot.
Yeah.
I believe they also determined they couldn't figure out what cop's bullets killed her.
Yeah, that was but that happens sometimes with crime labs. The crime lab in Kentucky couldn't figure it out, but the crime lab in the FBI could, and it determined that it wasn't the cop from the outside. Because again, if it was the cop from the outside, then you have a murder issue. But since they were able to definitively determine that it was not him, then you know it kind of then led to the situation where those cops, it was the luckiest situation for the cops, because it's like, well, the cops who were responding to being shot at, those shots were justified, but the cop who was just shooting blindly into a space, that cop's shots weren't justified. So that's kind of how they parsed it. And if you heard the AG yesterday, he was very clear about, hey, since the FBI has determined definitively that the cop that was outside didn't kill Breanna Taylor, then that's why we're just going to charge this person with the reckless endangerment.
And Cyrus, Detryck, any other thoughts that you may have on that?
I've got quite a few, unfortunately.
That's why I said Cyrus first, because I knew. I just knew. He's like,
so
I have thoughts.
So the one thing I can say is I can understand, at the very least, not pursuing a full-on like murder ruling. Because whenever you try to rule murder in any degree, you have to actually determine intent or premeditation, which can be kind of difficult in a situation like this. However, it's weird to me that not once was homicide, like manslaughter, any of those charges, which are much easier to pin, because you can't say, well, he premeditated, murdered, killed the guy in the street when he ran him over on accident, but you can say vehicular homicide. So it's weird to me that a verdict like that was not at least reached, because for them to say that did not happen, we would have one of two situations. Either A, Breanna Taylor is miraculously actually alive, which is not the case, or B, we have to have a conversation about qualified immunity. And that's a fun one to have.
Yes.
well, just to parse out the legal language.
Yeah.
Is usually a homicide is an unnatural death, right? It doesn't. It means a person just didn't die of natural causes. That's what you're really talking about, a homicide, or someone's.
Yeah, she unnaturally got shot in the bed.
Yeah. So that's a homicide. Well, she wasn't.
I'm just gonna step out of the whole stream and let y'all.
She was. The way the coroner came down, she was standing in the hallway next to the boyfriend, because obviously if somebody's banging on your door at 1 o'clock in the morning, everybody's kind of scared, and you're like, who the hell is that? So they were standing kind of next to each other, so they weren't in the bed. But unfortunately, I think a lot of times, and this is just from the legal perspective, people don't understand that sometimes you can have things that are awful, but they're lawful, and that's what we used to always say at the DA's office. This is awful, but it's lawful. And what do I mean by that? The law allows officers to respond to threats of force or even force. And that's kind of how the two cops at the door, because one cop was shot and the shot came first from the person in the hallway. So they're responding to a threat, right? They get shot at, they respond. And that's unfortunately how the victim died. But on the opposite end, if you think about it from the victim's perspective, the boyfriend, I don't know who's coming through the door, right? So I just hear banging at the door, and somebody breaks in the door, and I see somebody walking through the door. He himself is now justified in using force, right? Somebody's trying to break into his house. He doesn't know what they're trying to break in for. So that's what I'm saying. So on both sides, the boyfriend, that's why the boyfriend's not charged with trying to kill the cops, because he was justified in his reasonable beliefs that the cops were that someone was coming in to kill him, because he didn't know they were cops. And then the cops were also justified in believing that he was trying to kill them because he had shot at them. So that's what I'm saying. This is one of those rare situations where it's awful, but sometimes you have to parse it out where the law just doesn't allow. You know, it's sad to say, but sometimes it's no one's fault. Now the cop outside, that's why I keep saying the cop outside, if he would have shot, if they could prove that he shot one, if his bullet hit
because his life wasn't
he would have
threatened.
murdered. Exactly, his life wasn't threatened at all, and he was just shooting indiscriminately. That's why he was charged, and he would have been charged with murder if that bullet would have hit Breanna Taylor.
Detryck?
This also goes, this goes back to why they were there to begin with. I wonder, that absolutely should have been taken into consideration. There's so many things that people are saying about Breanna Taylor and Kenneth Walker that just isn't true. Like, there were no drugs in that house. No, she wasn't dating the guy that they were looking
had in
for.
custody. They actually had in custody.
He was already in custody. They were they were there on a warrant to go look for this guy. They already had him in custody.
Look, I've read the warrant, and I've seen it. And again, because I'm a former law enforcement officer and a former DA, and so I looked at both the warrant and looked at the superseding evidence, and I think a lot of people just don't understand the totality of circumstances. And what do I mean by that? You guys are from the hood. I'm from the hood. I'm from Harlem, and you guys know if I say crack house, trap house, and stash house, right? You guys know the three terms. A trap house is a place where people go use drugs. They sell drugs. It's a trap house. I can point to trap houses in Harlem right now. It's like the big new term. And then you have the stash house. The stash house is the place in which when the drugs are sold, you send the money to the stash house. And when you get the drugs go to the stash house and they send them out to the trap houses, right? And
this is your safe middle area.
Yeah, and you always want to keep the stash. And now for the cops, the hardest place to find is the stash house, right?
Stash house, right.
But the easier places to find are the trap houses.
The trap house, yeah.
Because
there's constantly people coming in and out, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
So the name of the game is to get into the trap house and then follow whoever's going from the trap house back to the stash house. So what happens is if you read the warrant found up all the trap houses. Now, I actually found the video of the trap houses maybe like 2 weeks earlier being raided. So they raided the trap houses and they found guns, drugs, the whole nine.
So they thought that Breanna's house was the stash house.
Well, yes, but what happens is that they surveil the trap houses and they put cameras. Now, this is going to, for all you wannabe pharmaceutical, street pharmacists out there, this is what they do. They put cameras. Now, after they raid the place, people aren't just going to leave those properties. It's still, most people know where to get the drugs from. So what they do is now they put cameras out on the lamp poles and just surveil the property. So what they did, they surveilled the property and saw her ex-boyfriend traveling from each one of the stash houses, and he was traveling to Breanna Taylor's house. So what they had assumed was that his transportation, they saw him pick up a package from, like, even you can even see there's like videos and even pictures of the ex-boyfriend traveling from the trap houses back to her house. He like pick up a package from her house and then drive directly
and then go back to the trap house, right?
Yeah, and go back and forth. So the assumption was, well, maybe this is the miracle stash house that we can catch. If we can catch them at the stash house, then we can catch the supplier. That was from the warrant. That seemed to be their plan. But I think what they forgot to do was to verify that was a stash house, right? And again, if you know, and one thing about police procedures too, you never want to kick in anybody's door. What you want to do is that if they wanted to go into that apartment, and this is where I think the police ultimately messed up. It's a woman in there. You know that this is not a violent place. This is not a trap house, right? This is somebody's living here, and generally stash houses, you want to keep it low key, so you don't really want to keep it really hot like that. So when you go to us, when you do a raid like this, or when you do a warrant like this, 99% of the time you knock on a door, the person comes to the door, opens it up, and you bust your way in, right? That's the safest way to do it. Here, I don't know why you would send, number one, a 3-man team on a no-knock warrant. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense, because if you have a no-knock, why would you go in at 12 o'clock with a 3-man team? Why would there be no surveillance? There could be kids in there, right? You want to surveil the property to make sure there's no kids in there. So the police procedures were all messed up. I think these were maybe some gun-ho cops who messed up, and unfortunately this woman died. But again, there's a difference between being bad procedures and being criminal. And this is, again, I really want to say this. These cops messed up badly and somebody died. They should pay out their ass. But sometimes, even though it's awful, it's just, unfortunately, the laws as they are now, and now the laws need to be changed.
Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just lawful. It's awful, but lawful. And that's where I think we're running into now. I'm sorry.
You're fine. And I think that's the basis of the outrage is, yes, while this is lawful, it's fucked up. It should not be lawful. No knock raid should not be lawful. You should not be having a 3-man team kicking in a fucking door and shooting up an apartment complex. Now, I've had places I was staying in raided before. I've
My house has been raided.
I've been
raided, so I've
been suspected of being the supply and the trap house before. So I mean, I've been there.
You know the deal.
I know the deal. And yes, while it was a smaller team that knocked on the door and came in, there was an entire other tactical team behind them.
That's the way.
Getting ready to move in as soon as that door was open.
Yeah.
This 3-man gung ho, I'm gonna be fucking Indiana Jones ass shit. What 3-man team brings a fucking battering ram? Like, what? Who carried this?
I don't know.
Who?
But you know, it's even the weirdest part about it. They say it was a 3-man team, but then when the officers are talking on the interview, they mention other officers, so it seems like there's more people. So this listen, let's just keep it 100. There's no way the city's going to pay somebody $12 million for a botched raid. It's not more here. Let's just all be real.
That's a settlement for a settlement.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, let's keep it real. So obviously there's more to this story than we're seeing. But I'm saying based on the facts that we have now, you know, it's just hard to parse out. But the city don't pay. The city of New York is very tight with money, so nobody's paying out $12 million, especially Louisville.
Louisville, absolutely, no, buddy.
And New York will pay you a pretty penny to shut the fuck up. New York will pay you a nice chunk of change to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, Mayor Fisher could walk out on the street, shoot somebody in the face. I don't think they're getting that much money. You know, there's absolutely some fuck shit going on behind the scenes.
There's more here, but we just don't know it as of yet.
Yeah, it's everyone, myself included, because I mean, we just trying to wrap our minds around this thing, you know, and there's really no accountability being had, because I'm like, yeah, dude was charged with 3 counts, you know, and he was hit with a $15,000 bond, which he posted immediately. He was in and out of jail in an hour. Posted immediately. And it's like, where is the justice in all that? And that's just the indictment. That's not even a guarantee that he'll go to jail for it.
No.
You know?
No.
It's likely that they're not going to, especially with the settlement.
Absolutely.
And we hear stories like this all the time.
Oh, the one from Lone Wanderer?
Yeah. They literally raided his house because they thought a black man was in his house. And I'm like, where I grew up, I would have had my house raided every fucking day of my life. Like there's black people in there. Come and get them.
You know, I was arguing with a conservative the other day about the racism in the system. And what I always say is that the system was built upon racism, right?
Yes.
This is why the system is the way it is. Now, I understand things are different now. You know, we're not living in the 1800s, but you can actually see when there was this mass incarceration. It was after slavery. After slavery ended and white people couldn't enslave black people, they were saying, well, how can we get these people to work for free? And the exception was, well, if we make them criminals, then guess what?
And then slavery is legal as long as you are a criminal.
Yeah.
Which happens now.
They don't realize that's the part of the 13th Amendment. 13th Amendment doesn't say no slaves stop. It says with the exception of imprisonment.
But most people don't know this. Back after the 13th Amendment, some of the things that you could get arrested for and convicted for while black, being unemployed while black, being on the street at noon while black. Matter of fact, being black while black, you would be arrested for.
If you were in a white space and you were black, being black.
and if you were arrested 3 times, they gave you a life sentence. Which
is what the New York 3 strikes rule was modeled after. The New York 3 strikes rule was set on that precedence from the 1800s, which, Nate, I believe is still active. I think the 3 strikes rule is still active.
Look what happened in Mississippi just recently, maybe a couple of months ago. There was a man in Mississippi who stole hedge clippers and was given life without parole.
Because it was his 3rd strike.
Exactly.
I remember,
that's ridiculous.
I remember
that's
when I was
ridiculous.
a kid hearing about the 3 strike rule for the first time because a man got life. The article that I read, and this was years ago, was that a man stole donuts. He had stolen like a 12-pack of Krispy Kreme donuts. And the way the article was written, it was, oh, he stole donuts. This is his life sentence. And I was like, I don't understand that. So I read it, and it was, no, he had had 2 previous sentences. This is the 3rd strike. Therefore, he's getting life. And I remember as a kid who barely had any idea of how to form a fucking cogent moral argument, just going, that's bullshit. That's actually fucked up.
That's actually bullshit. And something I want to touch upon, because I know Nate has to get going early. Kentucky has castle doctrine laws.
Yes, we do.
To where you can legally own a gun. Now, I live right just shy of the Kentucky border. I think I'm the only state in the area that has more lax gun laws than fucking Kentucky does. You can, it takes 72 hours, not even 72 hours, it takes 15 minutes to get a gun in Kentucky. You can legally own it without a carry permit. And if you or your property is in danger, or you feel that there is a credible threat to life, you have the right to shoot at your own property. How does this apply to the circumstances with the Breanna Taylor case?
That's why the boyfriend cannot be charged.
Okay.
Right.
If you think about it, the boyfriend hasn't been charged. Nobody even talking about charging him. He shot.
They did try. No, they tried.
Initially, yeah. They tried to put
the
charges
original
on him
part they
initially.
did.
Oh yeah,
Right.
but they can't.
Yeah.
Now, matter of fact, he's suing them, right? For
Good.
scaring them up, right?
Good.
So,
But
Hey,
mental
yeah.
damages that come from shit like that.
and that's the beautiful thing about it being, even though it's awful, but he has a legal right to defend his property, and he's saying, I did. And the one thing that, even with the whole, did they say police? Because they have a witness from one of the neighbors who said that the police knocked and they announced themselves. But the one great thing about his case, why I think he's going to get paid, is because he made the 911 call and said people are trying to break into my house. If you listen to his 911 call, he says people are trying to break into. I don't know who they are. I just shot them, and there's a whole hell load of bullets. Now, why would you call 911 if you think that's the police outside?
Exactly.
Right. So I think
yeah.
he's going to get paid because I don't think he knew that those were the police. I don't
No,
think
he
he.
didn't.
Yeah. So.
Absolutely not.
And
I want to. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Cyrus. There is something from the chat that I do want to address just really quickly.
I was gonna say, even if they announced that they were police, the fact that they were not wearing police uniforms, and
No body cameras, no badges.
and even if they were wearing
Right.
police uniforms, there's an argument against that too. Speaking from experience, I grew up in Montclair, which is where you got most of your drugs in Pensacola. So when I was younger, I used to go on walks at night all the time because
Right.
it's just where I grew up. So, like, I'd have a friend who would come over and go, why are you walking out at night? That seems really dangerous. I'm like, yeah, but it's my home. Like, this is just what I do.
I know everyone in this neighborhood. Why the fuck wouldn't I?
I've had
It's the
points
same
in
where I grew
time
up.
where there was 20 people on a corner of the street, and I was about to turn around. They were like, "No, it's Chris. Let him pass."
Yeah, and
Like-
that's how it was where I grew up. It's why are you a
That's
little
what
white girl in the
happens
projects?
when-
Bitch, I live
that's
here.
What happens when you grow up
Right.
there? But when I went to, it's called Bristol Park. Look it up on Google Maps if you're so curious and want a little info in how this worked. Went to Bristol Park, which is significantly far away from where my house was, probably like 20 blocks. And one of the things that happened to me there was I got mugged by 2 people. And this is one of the reasons why I don't have... I don't side with the people who say, but they said they were police. Because one of the things that happened during that is the person put his hand in his hoodie and pushed it at me when his friend was beating me on the ground and said, "Don't move, I've got a gun."
Ooh.
Holding it through his hoodie. Now, he didn't actually brandish a gun to this day. I don't believe he even had one. But the fact that he announced it, and I can look back at that as an adult and go, when I was getting mugged there, he likely didn't have a gun. It's the same logic that leads me to go, no, if somebody says they're police, but they don't look like police, they don't have any of the trappings of police, I'm not... I have no reason to trust this. Now, the only difference here is that when somebody says they have a gun, you're gambling with your life if you decide to take the gamble. And technically you're gambling with your life with the police as well. But again, because
Absolutely.
because I've lived through that, somebody merely announcing that they're the police, I don't have to fucking trust you.
Well,
I have
and they
no
tell
reason
women
to.
this. I grew up saying if somebody pulls you over in an unmarked vehicle and say they're a police officer, pull into a populated place, call the actual cops
See
to
if they
see
have
if that
somebody
they
in that
do
area.
have somebody in that area. Or if CPS knocks on your door. When I was, latchkey ass kid in the fucking 80s and 90s, if somebody knocks on the door and says they're the cops, don't open the door and call the police. Make sure. So we said we were cops. You can't trust that shit at fucking midnight.
No, you
at
can't.
midnight, no less. Like, no, fuck you. I'm shooting too. I did want to address this.
We are the cops. It's a really that is people don't understand that is a really common tactic for home invasions.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the police and they force their way in. Why didn't he learn after his first 2 strikes? So I have somebody that I grew up with who had been in the system since he was 16. When you come out of a system that gives you no rehabilitation upon leaving, you have no other choice but then to go back to the only life that you know to survive. It's not about not learning after 2 strikes. Trust me, nobody wants to go back. It's the fact that you're left with no choice because there is zero rehabilitation in this system for anyone to actually be rehabilitated from a crime. Prisons are notoriously known in the United States for taking rehabilitation issues and low-level criminals and turning them into more hardened criminals and them committing again.
They have the highest reciprocation in the fucking state.
Yeah.
Also, I'll make it real fucking simple for y'all. Everybody needs to eat. That man stole some donuts, okay? He's not trying to take a TV. He's not trying to take studios. He was trying to eat. Poor people still need to eat, and they're going to try to eat however they can eat, all right? I will never fault anyone for eating. So, yeah, the reason why he didn't learn the sec after 2 strikes because he was fucking hungry.
Right, the kid that I knew literally went back on his 3rd strike for stealing formula. Went back for stealing formula for his kid because his child was starving. The other 2 times, he was selling drugs because he had to pay his rent, he had to keep his lights on, and because he could not get a job for a felony he had when he was 16.
And that's the point. And that's the point I think this person who made that comment doesn't understand about institutional racism. And I'll let you know it as an officer's perspective. What happens is that let's say we have 2 neighborhoods. We have a white neighborhood and a black neighborhood. And what happens, and this is what happens here in New York. Now, if most people don't understand, New York had this same problem. 80% of the people who were being, actually 90% of the people who were being caught and ticketed and arrested for weed violations were black or a minority.
This was a stop and frisk. I believe it was 93.75% were either black or Hispanic.
Now, even though police were both stopping and finding just as many white participants using weed, and people would say, well, why were they just arresting black people? What was the issue? Were black people just mean to police, or what was happening? But this is where quotas came in. Because in New York City, what happens is if you're in a bad neighborhood, they'll say, well, you need to get 3 arrests per month. And if you don't get your 3 arrests, you know what? You're on a bad shift, on a bad tour, and now you're doing overnights when you know you got to pick up your kid at 3 a.m, right? It's crazy. But if you get those 3 arrests, you're going to be okay. So you're going to do everything you need to do to get those 3 arrests to keep your life stable. But now if you're in a good neighborhood, they'll say, well, you need 1 arrest every 3 months. So now what you want to do is let's say if you do mess up and get 3 arrests, then next month they're going to say, well, you need to get 3 more. So you want to keep the numbers low to keep your workload low, right? So if you do have 3 people who catch weed, you're not going to arrest all 3 of them. You're just going to get the one that you need, and everybody else you're going to let go. Why? Because if the more you catch, the more you're going to have to catch next month. And that's how quotas have, I think, gotten into the system. So when people say, well, why didn't they stop after the 2nd time? It is the enforcement of these crimes,
right,
that are keeping people that are keeping people in jail. Because if you just treated everybody the same, give everybody tickets, then you wouldn't see this disparity. Then you would have a change in the system because just as many white people would be doing these 3 strikes as black people. But it's the way these quota systems are working that's keeping this uneven balance in enforcement. Because again, the laws are colorblind. It's the enforcement of the laws that are not colorblind, and that's what's keeping the problem going.
Let me tell you all about stop and frisk and racism. I have been stopped and frisked 4 or 5 times. All but 2 were uneventful. those were also the two I wasn't alone for. One was in Washington Heights, one was in Brooklyn. I was hanging out with my boys. We were high as fuck on the soup. Like, holy fuck. I don't even know where my brain went. High. Cops stop us because, they smell weed. And they pull me to the side and ask me if I'm okay, if I'm here against my will. Am I in danger?
You're just like, yes, I'm fucking fine, dude.
And meanwhile, I'm sitting here. Mind you, I'm the criminal. I was the dealer at the time. Like, these motherfuckers were at fucking Columbia and NYU, and it's my fucking hooligan ass sitting here with them. And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. Well, then what are you doing in this neighborhood? Well, are you selling anything? So suddenly, because I was not the white girl being sex trafficked, I was the drug dealer, and granted,
now you're the one who had the money to afford the drugs.
Right, yeah.
Right. I was buying drugs, I was dealing, granted, those nights I wasn't, but yeah. I was a teenager, it was a fucking lifetime ago before somebody starts calling CPS and shit on me. I was like 7, well, I was young. I was much younger than I was now. But to where they had them on the ground with zip ties on before they even questioned them. I was being asked if I was here against my will, if I was safe, if I knew these men. How do I know these men?
No, were they black cops or white cops? Because it's funny. We found
white.
We found in our situation that black cops, even black cops, have this institutional racist mentality. In the sense of we did a little study with our own department, and we found that black officers treated black suspects worse than white officers because they felt that was what was expected of them. Like, we don't want to go easy on other black people, and that's how sick and twisted the system has got. Like, even now, when you go, you have to, and most black people know this. The ones who we fear black cops just as much as we fear white cops, because black cops won't give you no quarter or no gain. Why? Because they have people to impress. They want to get up the chain too, and they feel that the harsher they are to their own people,
the more they fit in.
Get up the chain. Yeah, and it's a sick little twisted way about it. But this is what I hope people understand. It is the system itself that's broken. These individual things are one thing, but the system itself needs to change, and that's what Black Lives Matter is about. It's about changing the system. So when you see a black man, you don't think criminal. You think human being. Yeah, that's what we want to get to, right?
I do have a super chat from my end.
Sure.
That I think.
Yeah, Cyrus is monetized, and I'm not. I probably will never get monetized with my goddamn videos. So yeah, like, you can be monetized, but fuck you, bitch. No.
I swear like a sailor, and I make fun of Tucker Carlson for not saying the fuck word on air, but being perfectly fine with all the other shit he does.
I got put behind an age wall for telling J.K. Rowling to eat my asshole.
I mean, you don't. Okay, I don't know where that tongue has been. I do not want her to do that. That sounds horrible. But one of the super chat that I just got from Halsoy, thank you very much for that, by the way, is: are there actual arrest/citation quotas? Wouldn't the only quota to aim for be 0? Being from Norway, the American penal system is scary.
No, the quota
they
system
incentivize it.
Yeah, it's called. If you guys want to look it up, it's called CompStat. It was instituted under Mayor Giuliani, and what is it? It's a system,
of course,
in which it's a system in which him and Bill Bratton came up with a system. It does two things. It's about police accountability. So, for instance, if you're an officer, we want to know two things. We want to know if these officers are being effective, and we want to have some type of measuring stick to say, okay, this officer has done his job. So what they do is say, all right, you have to give X amount of tickets. So what they do, they have a team go out and survey and say, okay, you have X amount of people parking bad, so each officer should get X amount of tickets, right? And then they'll say, well, here's the crime reports. So for crime to go down, you need to have X amount of arrests. So they go to each neighborhood and delve that up and say, this is what, and they don't call them quotas, they call them goals. And those goals go to your performance evaluation. So, for instance, if you don't make your goals,
this was also part of the broken windows policy as well.
Exactly, this is exactly what it was. And if you don't make these goals, then what happens is they call you downtown to the police department, you're a precinct captain, and say, well, why didn't you make this goal? You know, you have crime is going up.
Right.
You know, your officers aren't making an arrest. It's your fault. Now you're going to the shit tour, the shit day, and we're going to give you highway therapy. We're going to make you go drive 2 hours to work because you're not doing it. So now, that's how the quota system works. Well, generally worked in New York. I don't know if they changed it now, but that's
this
how
was part of the broken windows policy. And the broken windows policy was, if you clean up the broken windows, it motivates other people in the neighborhood to treat their neighborhood better.
Yeah.
So you had to be out there issuing citations, issuing frisks, issuing arrests, or they said that you were not cleaning up the neighborhood. You were overlooking the crime and therefore leaving the broken windows, which is what was attributing to the low morale in the neighborhoods, so that people didn't want to stand up for their neighborhoods and clean them up.
Yes.
They literally put the blame on the cops and said, you are not helping to clean up these neighborhoods if you do not make these arrests, if you do not issue these tickets.
See, what's funny, though, is that
Cyrus, by the way, is the cat okay? I thought it was one of mine.
so Hylia's okay. What's happening is Raz is having to clean Hylia's ears.
Oh, okay.
And he's not
He's
very
not
pleased.
happy.
He's not happy.
We're all just
about
sitting
that.
here like...
No, Hylia's just getting ear cleaned. And
I thought it was one of mine. I was like, what the fuck is
like, hold on 1 sec. Let me make sure that
Every time Cyrus is on his stream, there's animals. It's just, it's what happens.
Yeah, no, so for context, let me make sure that I am...
Hey, Raz.
So there's Raz attempting
no.
to clean Hylia.
I'm just like, holy shit, is the cat okay? Because I was like, what the fuck?
Not like being a burrito.
No, he's not very happy. I forget what I was gonna say now.
Because cats.
Oh no, what I was gonna say is, isn't it strange that this is off the top of my head when I was doing research for the 1350 video that I did ages ago. I find it very strange that places that are quote unquote saturated with crime, typically, no matter what quotas they set, no matter what parameters are set there, outside of purely like fucking moving people out via gentrification, those numbers never actually change. From what I understand.
Point. Damn good point.
Real quick, I want, speaking of the topic we're talking on, just received breaking news. The officer who shot Jacob Blake used deadly force because he feared a child in the car's backseat was being kidnapped.
What?
So, what?
What? Where'd you get that from?
CNN.
That's
like, it's on my phone.
my
Great.
God. Well, it seems like you're gonna have to get me on to come back to talk.
Yeah,
about
we're going to have to... Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I have to cut it because I gotta go now cook for my kids before.
Oh, tell the
somebody
kids
calls the
hello.
police on me.
Hey, right before they...
Well, yeah, they're afraid. You can come up because my daughter. I don't know if you ever see her on my stream. She always steals my baby Yoda.
I'm surprised it's been there that's like this long.
Yeah, no, she takes it and it's gone, and it's crazy. Like I have
That's
so many
why I don't
toys
have
here
pillows
that-
on my bed anymore, because... Yeah.
You know, it's because I'm one of my clients. I was talking to one of my clients, and my daughter's like, "Daddy, can I play with your toys?" I'm like, "Those are my toys. Those are your toys."
Go play with your own. I bought you enough. Yes. My child's got 6 pillows on his bed right now. 6.
Oh my!
You notice all my square pillows are gone, right?
Well, listen, you guys definitely.
I'll
take
have you
care.
back on. We'll talk some more about it.
Yes, it's great to see you, sirs. And listen, it was great to meet you, Detryck. It was amazing
You as well.
meeting you, and good, and stay safe down there, man. And I know it's got to be tough down there. And you guys take care, all right? And I'll definitely see you guys soon.
Absolutely, yeah. Nice to meet you. You have a good one.
Take care.
That poor cat. I'm sorry, sirs. I feel terrible for the cat.
So
I'm like, this poor thing.
for context, this is what has been cleaned out of one of the ears.
Oh.
So that
Or
is
maybe.
yeah, and then well, I don't need to. They already have.
I don't need this.
I don't need to show another one. They understand the ears needed cleaning, so we are cleaning the ears.
So I do want to also touch on Detryck.
Yeah.
You have been on the ground, boots down, since day one in Louisville. And I don't want to try to get into... We can sit here and discuss legal aspects and shit like that, but I don't want to get into, like, hardcore shit without Nate here, because we can sit here and armchair shit. Nate actually fucking does this shit, so...
Yeah.
But I do want to touch on your experiences. How is Louisville feeling now?
Oh my God. Louisville we're hurt. We're scared. There's a significant population who just feels betrayed. Because I live in the West End of Louisville. And Louisville's actually by landmass a pretty big city.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're by landmass, we're like twice the size of New York.
Okay, you keep talking. The kid just something. So I'm just gonna look real quick. Y'all talk. I'll be back in 2 seconds.
So like Louisville is we're a pretty spread out city, and so like different parts of the city have their own kind of like culture, you know. And so, but it's really weird because my wife works in the complete opposite white rich part of town. And
I say this is about like what Pensacola is, where you've got like as you get closer to the beach, everything like the property prices just start going up, and then when you get to like Michigan Avenue, everything just starts
So like it's really weird, and like, but going out to because I also shop in that part of town too, but it's a good 20-minute drive or so. But I drove by and there was a white couple standing out on the street corner of this rich, white, affluent part of town, holding a sign. The wife had one that said, "We failed her," and the husband, I honestly couldn't see what he was carrying because when I read her side, I immediately just started crying because it's just so many people recognize the injustice of it all, and it's both happy. It's weird because I'm in this space where I'm happy to see that they see it, but it's really shitty that the entire city is like, yeah, this is wrong, and yet Mayor Fisher and there's nothing we can do about it.
I mean, that's kind of where I'm at with the whole like Supreme Court justice thing that's been going on, is that I am angry. I want to do something, but outside of just burning everything the fuck down, what is there to do? Yeah,
and on that, people talk about the looting and things like that. Like there have been some windows that were smashed when it went down. It wasn't a lot. It was like 12. And even then, like what they lump in, because especially they did it today, because I saw how they said that someone had backed their SUV into a GameStop to get into it for looting. But
who's gonna loot a fucking GameStop? Half those discs don't even work anyway. Like what?
Right, and they're still like that. They're only gonna get $50 in in-store credit for it.
Right? What are you going to get for it? $25 in in-store credit and 4 discs that are fucking Japan region that don't fucking read. This is what you're gonna get at a fucking GameStop. Like,
but like the GameStop where it happened was on the complete southern part of town. It had nothing to do with the protests. It's just the LMPD and local media lumped all the instances of like burglary and blamed it on the protests.
Because it's convenient to do that.
Because it's convenient. Right. And honestly, it saves them the work from having to actually do any police work about it.
Because if they can chalk everything up to protest, well, I'm sorry, everything's chaos right now. We can't help you.
We can't determine if it's a threat to life or not, so everything's a threat to life.
Right. Like I said, this is close to the county line. To go in, it's so far removed from where the protests are, and we're under curfew anyway. So like curfew, they announced it at 8, and then at 9 you're supposed to be home. But
but what does that do for people who are working? And like you said, Louisville is pretty spaced out. It's a generally large landmass. So now you've got everyone trying to, curfew's announced at 8. You've got everyone trying to rush home at 9. There's going to be traffic. What happens then? What happens then when you can't get home in time?
Right. A lot of places that are open, like UPS or Ford, they actually have like written passes that they give people, which is really it was really fucking weird because it's like, let me see your papers.
Yes.
Let me see your pass to be out, on public street. It's really and I
didn't even think about that.
Yeah. And so like so they issue those out. And so you can show them, but it's still the police is still at their discretion to if they want to take you in or not. You know, that's just telling you, hey, I need to be here, or this is where I'm going. And it's not enforced evenly at all either. Because like, I still sit out on my porch at night just to look around and make sure everything's okay. Yeah. And like, I don't see a cop because they're all downtown. They're enforcing it mainly in the downtown area, and they're enforcing it heavily against houseless individuals too. So like,
yeah, and what do you do with the homeless population at that point?
If you're homeless, you're always breaking curfew. What option do you have?
So then what option do we have? We have them taking them into county, exposing them to that. We've got a clogged up system, a clogged up court system, so they're not going to be fucking heard in a timely manner. Right. And then what happens if they are habitual offenders? They're going to say, well, you haven't learned your lesson about curfew. You're a public danger. And then they put them in jail. They put them in prison for it.
And this circles right back around to that the person who made the comment about the whole 3 strikes thing. What happens is they criminalize poverty. Essentially, like if you are homeless, you don't have a home to go to.
Yeah,
they're gonna.
What are you supposed to do? Just tell the cop, "Yeah, sir, sorry, I was trying to get under the bridge fast enough, though you would have arrested me there too, so fuck it."
And and I can go on a whole big thing about how Mayor Greg Fisher, the city of Louisville, and the LMPD treat our houseless population. That's a whole nother thing we can do. But no, as far as like the protests and everything, they don't level. Oh, and they, we not only, besides the protesters that we have, we also have like militia coming in town.
Yes.
And they don't touch those guys. They let them.
No,
they let them.
Congratulate them. That's what they did to fucking Kyle.
Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yeah.
Kyle Rittenhouse. And Detryck and I live not too far from each other. So we see a lot of the same kind of people that come rolling through. A lot of the same militia groups, a lot of the same organizations run through both our areas. When I tell you they have been growing since Trump, faster than any rate that I've ever seen. So it's not like they're diminished for numbers.
They're like the fucking freaking Proud Boys and shit. They feel empowered by the socio environment around them.
Yeah. Which is really weird to me because like I've always had this interest on like the militia movement back when they started like in the 80s and 90s, and those guys have always been like against the government, and all of a sudden like the government is their friend, the president is their friend, and that's what got me about like Alex Jones and shit like that, because all they would talk about is how this state, this secret state or whatever the fuck they call it, the shadow government with deep state, all that kind of shit, and how all the presidents have been. I almost started to get into my Alex Jones. All the presidents are involved in it, and
the presidents are all involved in it.
We've started. That's it. Now we started the Alex Jones band. We're going to be here for dinner, ladies and gentlemen. Just call up Uber Eats now, and we're going to be here for a while.
I enjoy sucking the deep state penis. What?
This is the one that. This is the guy that they want. This is the good president. This is the good government. All of a sudden,
Yeah. What is there evidence that Trump isn't also a puppet? If let's just assume the deep state is real for a second. Let's just do that for fun. What is the evidence that Trump isn't also a puppet? Because I remember I remember Alex Jones back when I used to actually watch him and not like be critical of the things that he said, because I used to actually enjoy his content back when I was in high school.
I'm so happy we didn't know each other in high school.
Probably for
no, like old school Alex Jones was like just like the conspirity and the deep state. It wasn't like now Alex Jones was different from old Alex Jones.
Yeah,
I remember being shown a version of Zeitgeist for the first time, and seeing like the loose change theory, and a lot of it like making sense to me as a kid who didn't really know physics. But seeing the loose change theory, seeing Alex Jones get into shit like that, and seeing him like hammer on Republicans because they were bringing us into wars that we didn't need to be in, and then of course we get Democrats that just perpetuate them because liberals are also capitalists, and turns out the war economy is real good.
And if anyone thinks the Democrats didn't put kids in cages, we're not Democrats here.
Yeah, if you want to be like Obama did it too, I don't like Obama either. Shut the fuck up.
Right.
Go eat a stale bagel. The more mold, the better. But
Like, and I think Detryck and I were talking about that there's a difference between leftists and liberals.
yes, because liberals are capitalists and leftists are not. That is the distinction.
Right.
That is the dividing line.
Right. Liberals want just a little bit of oppression, you know.
They
Just
want the oppression that happened in the early 90s when it was only in rap music and nobody talked about it.
Right.
It was music
Yes.
that they didn't let their kids listen to, so therefore it was okay.
Right.
No,
Like,
now it's on the
Martin Luther
TV.
was a
We don't
good
want to hear
guy.
that. Leftists are like, well, looks like it's time to take over the country. Let's go. And the liberals are like, no, wait, the guns? Wait, you mean we have to do something?
Do something?
Oh,
we just
no.
vote strenuously
one
every
of-
4
Can we
years?
just vote for progressive strenuously and just hope that in another 200 years, maybe a law might change?
But not too progressive.
No.
One of
We can't.
Not
we
the guy
can't.
that
No.
wants to, erase our college debt and give us
No,
healthcare
no.
shit. No.
Not
No.
that one. But one of the other
We want the
fun
guy. We
things-
want the guy that used to stand up for segregation. That's what we want.
Well, if we get rid of somebody that's, if we try for somebody that is for universal health care and wiping college tuition, then what would be left of their trust funds when their grandfathers die?
Right. How will they recruit for the military?
Oh,
There's an easy way to figure out the divide between a liberal and a leftist more so than just like, are you a capitalist or aren't you? Because you can sometimes get a liberal to just like go, yeah, no, capitalism has flaws, but they're gonna have the same argument that Winston Churchill had for democracy. Democracy is the worst kind of government, except for all the other ones we've tried. They're
I
gonna
can't
do
believe we've turned this in a bread tube.
They're gonna
Oh
do
my
that
God.
same thing.
Yeah.
The other thing you can do is then go, hey, so what is your opinion on gun control? Because most leftists are going to go, I like my guns for reasons I don't want to talk about.
I love my AR.
I love mine. I fucking love mine. And the shit is, though, if a cop busts into my door and I shot a cop, I may go to jail, but I'm breathing. If
Yeah.
Detryck does it, I'm going to his funeral.
Ooh. Yeah. Yeah. And
I don't know what they're doing.
if it's just in my house, like I've gotten just a little worried having my unloaded, unchambered AR in my bedroom.
Yeah.
Because if someone kicks in the door, ATF shows up, which ATF and FBI have been here knocking on people's doors.
Oh, especially yours.
Yeah. But the LMPD just comes and shines their light through my windows, like no joke. Because
I don't know if you want
applied-
to talk about the experience as to why
Oh well, yeah.
you
sure.
are on that
Yeah,
watch list.
on a list, but
Yeah. Well, you've been on this, but
He's just
There
like,
is-
it's not really a list.
there have been some things that have happened that Detryck has stood up for within the protest that have made him a bit more prominent than other people.
before the protest, because like we had the Occupy ICE protest a couple years ago,
Yeah.
and I was helping out there pretty much, and like sure enough, like they had some like me on fucking security footage just standing outside, and they know who back then they knew who I was, so. If you have taken part of any sort of protest against like the federal government, ICE in particular, which is DHS and shit, yeah, you are on the list.
By the way, if any of you are, hey Raz, I love them, and I love you and Gigi, and I'm like, I have hope. If any of you have ever during these protests given your friends any intel, any inside intelligence, any comms, anything, you are on a list. They are confiscating phones. They are going through things. I found this out the hard way. I found this out the hard way. So yes, please be careful in what you are saying, and if just taking into an account that you are being monitored. If you are in any way, even if you are offering to send supplies, you are being watched.
Yeah.
You are being watched. You're being monitored more heavily than usual.
But it's not fascism. But it's not
No.
fascism.
Oh, no.
It's
No.
definitely not.
Being watched and being asked for papers when you're in the street, that's not fascism.
It's not fascism. No, it's not fascism. It can't happen here.
It can't happen here.
That's
No.
why it's not fascism.
Oh, which there is a whole ass podcast saying it could happen here, and I advise
You.
everyone to give that. I binged that shit 3 times.
You have been on this. It could happen here is the name of it. And
It could happen
Detryck has
here.
been like twice a week. It's like, go look at this. Go
Yeah,
at this.
yes.
Go look at this.
And look, okay, so the podcast was made like a year or so, like a year and a half ago, because he was recording it like January, February of 2019. Every single point that he's made, like everything he said, oh, it can start with this, and then it happened this, and then this happened, and that happened. It's 20
because
in a podcast.
Because unlike Q conspiracies, we actually have a couple of countries that have gone through fascistic regimes, and we can look at their patterns and go, this is what happens. For instance, does your country have a habit of powerful and continuing nationalism? Well, I don't know.
Right.
Our president has flat out said he's a nationalist, so yeah,
Right.
this is also
Are
one of
your
the
police
reasons.
militarized?
Yes. Does your country have a disdain for human rights? Well, we don't
Oh,
uphold
well,
the
yeah,
human
that-
rights we fucking signed for the United Nations, so
Well,
yes.
that, and if you look at other countries who have, if you look at, say, Ireland with the Romani population, Nazi Germany, they have taken lessons out of our history books to apply to their racial profiling, to apply to their xenophobia.
Yep.
They have actually taken the lessons out of our history books.
Yes,
Speaking-
the bedrock, the bedrock of the Nuremberg laws and the entire shit that went down in Nazi Germany, they got from eugenics laws here in the United States, particularly in like South Carolina, and
which
places
is
like
also where
California,
the
too.
bell curve came from for all of you fucking IQ aficionados.
Hold on, wait. Maybe you guys know this. What is
Senators.
this? What is this? The taser shields? We have taser shields?
Yeah. You see this shit? Yeah, it looks like some fucking like Hail Hydra bullshit. Yeah, they're round shields with like this silver lining. It looks like out of a fucking comic book. We have the taser shields, which a lot of people don't know is they actually have taser shields. They've had them in prisons for a
while, yeah.
So like they just look like the plexiglass riot shields.
Yeah, they're the
no
rounded, flat end, curves.
Yeah, but like,
But that way, when you
they
make
look like-
impact with it, you're stunned.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, and so these brand new spanking shields they have now, like I said, they look wild as fuck. They look like an evil Captain America shield.
I wonder where they got the.
Yeah.
I wonder
Are they
where
out in the
got
street in
funding to
Louisville?
get that?
I don't.
What a weird thing. I wonder if there was potentially a movement of some kind that has maybe argued at some point, sometime down the line, that these things maybe, just maybe, don't need to be in the hands of police. Maybe
Possibly.
something about what was the word? Defund? I think that's the one.
Oh, you mean abolish?
Well, technically, that is the slippery slope we're going down. Actually, no, my argument for abolishing the police is very simple. We don't need police, but we do need law enforcement. The reason we need to abolish the police is because of the current protections police have. In 36 states, they are allowed to rape without it being classified as rape.
Police
To be-
unions?
Police unions are a thing that need to be removed. The current system that allows for protections under qualified immunity needs to be completely set out. It is much faster to create a new law enforcement agency with new people and
Right.
structure new laws around it, and then abolish the police while you still have a new law enforcement agency that has been set in under new parameters, than it is to reform the entire fucking police scene. It is
I
much
have a
easier to make new
video
one.
on this that's literally called Abolish Defund ACAB. If you guys, Service and I make a lot of the same points in that video. If you guys want to check that out. Detryck loves that video. Detryck was like, if y'all want some fucking education, just here. And I made it because I got tired of arguing this point over and over and over
Oh,
again.
you do
So
the
I
same
said,
thing I do, where you get
I
tired
make
of arguing. So
yes,
you make
I
it
make
link it?
videos. Yes.
The same fucking shit I do.
So you're not arguing, you're just screaming and never.
I'm just because I'm just like I'm done arguing about it, and it's like
Yeah.
I am so tired of typing this
You know-
fucking tweet over and over again. I just link videos now.
Yeah, I've stopped arguing on so many points because at this point, if you don't understand what the situation is, you just either haven't been paying attention, or you're just not going to pay attention,
Right. Or you're looking for
support it and
confirmation bias
right,
against
exactly.
it. Right.
You know, so I don't argue with people talking about, oh, you know, Breanna Taylor, she was selling drugs, or Breanna Taylor did this. No, I am done arguing with that. Even if she was,
and
right.
This is where I come at people, because I get people who, oh, Jen, we love you so much, and blah, 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 blah. She was selling drugs. She was dating a drug dealer. And I'm like, well, I sold drugs as a teen.
Do you think I should be executed?
Let me tell y'all, some of the exes that I had are your typical New York City project hustling, Tim wearing ass motherfuckers. And they still are well into our fucking late 30s. I still keep in touch with them. I still have friends in prison that I keep in touch with who are serving time for drug-related charges. Does this mean that a cop should come down on my fucking door with a battering ram and shoot me? And then they tell me, oh, but you're different. I'm like, why?
Is it
because I got box dye on my fucking hair? I got box blonde dye on my hair, and my fucking skin is white, my eyes are green?
Just say, oh, you're right, I forgot. I'm one of the good ones.
Yes.
And
these same people...
And if they agree, oh boy, you got caught.
Don't you love when they just out themselves like that? Like, this is why I advocate for the true Socratic method, not street epistemology, the true Socratic method, because if you keep asking questions like this, they're eventually going to tell on themselves. They eventually, and Detryck loves watching me do this shit. I know you sit on my Facebook with fucking popcorn, motherfucker. You too, sirs. I know the fucking two of you sit there with the popcorn. You join. And they're just like, oh shit, look, she's asking questions. Hold on, watch. They're going to tell themselves. 3, 2. But you know what it always comes out with? But you're different. You were younger. You're a mother now.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, you think motherhood changed anything? Oh, that's cute. That's adorable.
All motherhood changed was my sleeping patterns and my fucking patience. Okay, that's
So you mean it removed both?
Although Maxwell House is quite happy that I became a mother. I'll tell you. Maxwell House and any maker of cheese fries are very happy that I became a mother. But and then I eventually get to them, and it's like, it's because I'm white. It's because I'm white. Because to people who are arguing that there was justification, there is never a chance to get out of the hood for black people for them. That's where you belong, quote unquote. And I asked them, I'm like, you don't think this way? If I turn around and tell you that this is a bad neighborhood, what's the color of the skin of the people that you think you're living next door to?
They're going to say either Hispanic or some shade of brown.
And I'll admit it's an ingrained race. It's an ingrained part of systemic racism that I have, because I'll think bad neighborhood, bad school.
Yeah, you can't.
I fucking know better.
Yeah.
This is the. Somebody's gonna tell me to put down the bread. I know it, but it's fine. Whatever.
No, I want to put like hummus on it. Let's fucking throw all the bread.
So I'm gonna point out a thing that most people have probably either heard before or recognize. Most of the people who will argue in favor of the systems we have currently, if you ask long enough, you can get to the point where they admit that the system has a convenient habit of sorting people where they belong.
Mm-hmm.
Black people end up in black neighborhoods. White people end up in more affluent neighborhoods. Criminals go to prison. Now, granted, if you ask David Shittyman, piece of shittyman,
Sliverdick? David Sliverdick?
Yes,
is that who we're asking?
But if you ask someone like David Sliverman, he would probably say that, well, criminals' lives matter less than other people's lives, like normal people's lives. Okay,
no, he has said this.
Yeah,
he has said this, and I asked him. I said, "So when do we start stoning you for assaulting women, David?"
It's what's the point I'm getting at, though, is that these people advocate for a system of sharks and minnows, where the sharks naturally move to the top and the minnows will naturally move to the bottom, and that's the way things should be. And all hierarchical systems work this way. This could be an argument against capitalism. It could be an argument against what we have right now, which is real fucked up with our police system.
It could be an argument in religion as well.
Yes, for the exact same thing. You put God at the front, and then you put the husband, and then the wife, and then the child, and that ends up being the same argument each and every time for classifying things. We have trebuchets, but for classifying things in a in a hierarchy that they find very, very convenient. And I'm using they as a vague term because this isn't a thing that capitalists do. This isn't a thing that people in one country do. This is a shorthand that everyone engages in at some point in time.
All right. Because what it boils down to is the people who support that shit, you know, they have to protect what they feel is like, oh, you know, I have my little niche.
These are the things I earned. These are mine.
Yeah, as long as
and then this is where we have the American individualism. Ideals.
Yeah, there has to be someone below them. You know, they either have to be the ones, and they want to be the ones either holding the money or carrying the guns. You know, that's why they love police and they love billionaires, even though they don't even neither of the groups give any shits about them.
I love that shit. We're gonna tax the 1%, and then these motherfuckers that their families have been living in the coal mines in poverty ass fucking Kentucky for 3 generations. Suddenly got a fucking problem.
You're like, I'm just a temporarily embarrassed millionaire. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I'm a temporarily impoverished billionaire. And it's like, bitch, you've lived in the holler for 4 generations. Like, how temporary are we going to get this? Come on.
But see, the other side of that, though, is it's not usually... If you want to look at the history of conservative thought, if you go back to early France, when conservative thought, as we understand it, kind of had some of its beginnings, a lot of it began because nobles that were what we would kind of consider middle class, like functionally the middle class of they were not the monarchy, but they had power. Yeah. They realized that if they had a system, and they kept a system that said that there was a divine right for the king to rule, that effectively secured the little power they had. They had no thoughts that they would eventually become king. They just knew that as long as the king's power was secure, their power is secure. So take your average Trump racist in the United States. As long as Trump is secure in office, their place in society, wherever they've carved it out, is entirely secure. They don't think they're going to get to the top. They don't think they're going to get billionaires. I'll give them the charity that they're not that stupid. But they do know that their little area of society they've carved out for themselves is safer with Trump in office because they don't want that pyramid disturbed. If you look at the earliest versions of conservative thought in France, that's where it began. So while I do understand and I do like the meme of the temporarily just impoverished billionaire, I love it to death and it is great. I think the reality is that most people are not that dumb to think that, well, one day I'll make it.
I think a lot of it has to do with they feel that if they vote for these policies and they vote for these candidates, that maybe they have a little piece of that. They are part of what is so successful, and they can be seen as equals. They can
live vicariously through that
right.
success.
But meanwhile, these people don't see you as an equal. Yeah, Trust when I say Donald Trump doesn't give a fuck about what's going on in the holler. Does not give a fuck, because if he did, we wouldn't be having mobile clinics once a month out there with a 5-hour wait period that people have to park out there overnight. Right, we wouldn't be having a Guardian's Day because the drug problems are causing so many parental deaths that they can no longer have a Parents' Day out in East Kentucky. He doesn't give a fuck about these people. No. But them voting for them makes them feel that they're connected and they're equals because they have the same ideals.
Won. It's just like being a sports fan. Your team won. You feel like you contributed in some way to your team winning. Yeah. The Jets don't give a fuck. Trust me.
Oh, God. Pick a better team than the Jets, Cyrus. Fuck, nobody who has ever rooted for the Jets has felt like a winner since 1979, okay? Like, nobody.
Fine. The Cubs.
I don't have tea. God damn it. How do I not have tea for this stream? This is shit. Detryck, I wanted to ask, since the Breanna Taylor grand jury indictment came in, have the cops seemed more bold with the protesters and with...
Yep. Not hours after it was announced.
Of course not, because the news cameras were still there.
Oh yeah. But like they love getting to use their toys. They love rolling out the Bearcat. They as a matter of fact, for no reason, there was no need for it because the streets were already clear, but they had mounted police units. and I'm like, there were like 2 people downtown, and they were live streamers. You just, you know, oh, the streets clear.
I believe
here comes police. Here comes police on horses rolling through.
I want to touch on this because, Cyrus, I believe you live in what's considered a rural area.
I live in the middle of the fucking woods, yes.
Right. I live in a suburb. Detryck lives in a city. So we've got some nice rounded representation here. Who the fuck do you think is voting for Trump? Who in the actual red fuck do you think is voting for him? If you look at every major city in the country, they swing blue.
It's the people in my area.
It's
all
the
of
people.
Them.
Right, it's
all
the people in the holler, in these 200 per people town, that are sitting here and saying these are the same ideals that I have.
Yeah.
So it's not y'all are sitting and chilling, making people make fools out of themselves. You are the fucking fool.
There are Trump signs.
Yeah.
Everywhere I am, I'm sorry for interrupting, Detryck.
No, go ahead.
Everywhere that
I thought you were
am,
interrupting me.
I was interrupting both of you. That's why.
I should be used to it by now with Cyrus, though.
But everywhere that I am, there is either a Trump sign or a sign for Major League Green. If either of you know who that is, she is running here in Georgia, and her entire platform, from start to finish, is Q and Stop Socialism. That's it. Her platform is Q and Stop Socialism.
Yeah.
Q and Stop. And
I want to
take a look at the KKK, though.
Yeah.
Where did they start? They started in a small-ass town, 2 small-ass towns, one in Kentucky and one in Tennessee.
And actually, there's a third. The third time that the KKK got reformed, it was at Stone Mountain in Georgia, 1 hour away from me.
Mm-hmm. And Stone Mountain is not big.
No,
I think was it the second time that was Hopkinsville, Kentucky, or the first? I can't remember which one it was. But I live not too far from Hopkinsville, and let me tell y'all, when you take that road up there, the Klan bar is still there. You know what it's next to? A fucking Amish neighborhood. This is as rural as you're gonna fucking get.
Yeah. And, you know, I live in a city. I live in Louisville, right? But let's be honest. Like, Louisville is like an island in the sea of, you know, of the rural Kentucky. And we're not that far away. Like, Bullitt County is like 20 minutes away. And it's like night and day. But I'm going to let y'all know right now, like, you can talk about how, rural America is watching everyone making fools of yourselves. But, I mean, rural America is falling apart, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
real
suicide,
quick, Buzz,
death.
I don't repeat myself. There's a rewind button. You're free to use it. I'm sorry, Detryck. Go ahead.
Boop. All right. But, yeah. Rural America is falling apart, y'all.
All right, we gonna get into this. Not where I am from. Your experience is not the experience of all. There are literal statistics that show the votes that swung red during our last 4 presidential elections came from rural America. Statistically, and for years, major cities in the United States, Atlanta, New York, Baltimore, Detroit, Los Angeles, Louisville, who's in a red state, Nashville, who is in a red state, have historically voted blue, to the point that they have gerrymandered and redrawn district lines to take these major cities and absorb them into the more rural cities so that their votes do not count. Now, these are plain facts and numbers.
Right.
Your little small town experience and your rural experience, and this is something that I get into with fucking white people all the goddamn time when it comes to fucking cops and everything else in the goddamn world. That's not my experience with cops. That's not my experience with cops. We live in an age of the internet. Look at your backyard, bring your fucking phone with you, and see exactly what is going on in this world. Your experience is not the whole. And quite frankly, we are in the position that we are in because of the overall my experience, get mine. This is how the fucking world is thought of, just the way of life in this country. This is what has led to black people being killed in the street because white America has chosen for so fucking long to not look past their backyard because it's not us and it's not our cops and it's not my father and my uncle and my son that we have been having. This is some shit that we have been arguing about since Rodney fucking King in the media.
And before. This shit is not
And
new.
before.
My parents and grandparents marching for the same shit. The same shit. You know?
But shut the fuck up, two sides of the same coin. This is not two sides of the same coin. Because like I said, I could walk up to a fucking cop with a gun in my hand and they will take me to Burger King. If they even think that Detryck has a knife in his car, they're going to shoot him in the back. This is not two sides of the same coin.
People who think that two sides of the same coin is a thing, I would like to introduce you to all of the academic refutations of horseshoe theory. And when you're done reading those, we'll have this conversation again.
I have no idea who you are or where you've been. You're not in my bedroom, eating my asshole or up my vag. So therefore, no, I don't give a fuck where you've been. But your line of reasoning here is exactly what has led us down the path that literally every one of us has either lost someone to the cops, to the prison system, or to drugs. Every one of us sitting here.
Yeah.
When it comes down to who to place the blame from, it is citizens like you.
And if you think that it's the two sides of the same coin, if you think that the situations are similar or analogous, what the fuck are you doing to change that? Because yes, rural America is falling apart, and it's not something I'm not sitting here saying how rural. No, it breaks my fucking heart because there are good, decent people live out in the country who can't access basic services. They don't have access to food and all that kind of stuff, and they're growing up in these places they don't want to be in. The opioid crisis is just tearing through rural America. And what's going on is that you have all these politicians telling them that, these aren't your problems. This isn't what's going on. The people that you need to be afraid of live in the cities. You need to vote against the liberal elites. I'm like, these are rich people telling
the brown people.
Yeah.
Or they telling it's the brown people. Like,
remember the welfare queens were black.
Right. Rural America. They are fucking you.
Yep.
They are fucking you. They are poisoning you with them pills. They are taking away your basic needs and service, what you need to live. That's why generation after generation is leaving rural America. That's why they're coming to the cities.
And then when they do come to the cities and they're still asking for help, or when they are, and Detryck and I live in Tennessee, Detryck lives in Kentucky. Now, while we are not in the side of the holler, we know damn good and well exactly what life is like out there. And what do they tell these people to keep them off of assistance? Welfare queens are black, they're ghetto, they are taking advantage of the system, and if you decide to go get help to feed your kids, you are no different than some scamming black person.
Yeah.
And that is who, and in rural America, which is notoriously racist, this is who you're now grouped with. You are no different than the black woman taking advantage of the system, having 19 baby daddies and 15 fucking kids. Meanwhile, the biggest welfare queen in the nation is corporations. Yeah. But they don't want to tell you that.
The Walton family.
It's the Walton family.
Yeah.
It's Jeff Bezos.
Yes, Jeff Bezos.
He didn't even pay
taxes. It's the Sacklers.
They don't even pay taxes. Exactly. Right. They're getting tax breaks without paying taxes.
Making all that money, guys, off of killing your friends and families on opioids. They went from millionaires, like 10, 20, 30 million dollars to multi-billionaires since Oxy came out. And who's getting torn out by the Oxy? It's people in rural America.
Hold on a second. Buzz Breanna Taylor was an EMT. Fuck off.
Right. Boop.
What are we gonna do?
Right.
I'm sorry, Detryck. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. No. And I'm like again, I am not sitting here in the city telling people in rural America that I'm better than you or anything. No, we're the fucking same.
Yeah.
And they're fucking you just like they're fucking people in the city. Please recognize that. The reason why we get the word redneck from people who are wearing red bandanas on the fight against the people who own the factories. They were organizing in the rural places because you guys needed to work. And the people who own the businesses were keeping you from your benefits and from your good pay and from not having to work 7 days a week. you guys should be more leftist than I am.
Exactly. Especially in the fact that when it came to the coal mining industry and the automotive industry, which was notoriously blue collar, every one of these motherfuckers you voted for are the ones that shut your industries down. Yeah. And by sitting here and saying, I never said anyone was better than anyone else, when you were sitting here saying rural America is looking at y'all like you're fools, you are placing yourself above these people that you are judging. So yes, you are saying you are better than somebody else.
And look, we're not protesting just for us, man. This shit affects all of us.
Everyone.
Every single one of us. I don't want the cops getting in your doors or your neighbors, anybody else, whether you're from Detroit or whether you're from fucking, I don't know, Pikeville. No one should kick in your door while you're sleeping and murder your wife, your girlfriend, your spouse, whatever.
You, your kids.
You.
We literally have cops that do no-knock warrants and throw gas cans into windows that burn babies in playpens. It has happened numerous times. Numerous children have been burned and injured by no-knock raids from being hit with objects and doors and gas canisters being thrown into the houses and burning them. Infants in a pack and play.
Those are pyrotechnic charges. They could light your house on fire. They could light your house on fire. And they would get stone cold get away with it.
Sirs, any thoughts? Any thoughts, sir? Sirs is like, oh, Jen's lighting the fire. Okay. Get the bread. We're making toast. Do we have bacon? Okay.
Oh, bacon. Don't say bacon. I'm very hungry.
I want your chicken tendies. That's what I want.
I mean, you said you live in Tennessee, right?
Yeah, but once COVID is over, I'm coming to visit. So.
COVID's over.
Fuck off, bitch. Okay, leave me with what little hope I have. Okay. Leave me with what little tiny hope I have, okay? Okay.
Anyway, what I was gonna say is that I'm not gonna comment on the stuff going on with Buzz in your chat. Mm-hmm. Quite frankly, if they want to say, well, they are search and rescue, blah 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 blah, I don't care. We do not know you. We don't have to know you. We are going.
I don't know you, and I still fucking love you, Buzz.
We're going merely off of the things that you have said. So, past that, one thing that I would say is that it is strange to me that 10 years I spent in the standard workforce, going up into managerial areas, sometimes not, depending on where I was. I didn't become a manager at Walmart, but I did at McDonald's, I did at QT. During all of that time, the only time that I have been financially stable, not counting YouTube, which even then I'm not financially stable.
We try to be with YouTube, but that's not gonna.
It's like I make enough to survive, but then like random shit happens, like the well's going out. Okay, well that was fine. Okay.
Mm-hmm. The computer just went out, so yeah, I had to.
Oh yeah, boy, that's the thing that I need to survive.
Yep.
During the 10 years that I spent in the standard workforce, the only time I was financially stable was when I was a manager at QT. That was when I had full health coverage. That was when I had $40,000 a year as my job. Technically, it was less than that. They came to that figure by saying this is when you factor in your bonuses and all this other shit. But it was also during that time that I was the least mentally stable that I have ever been. The amount of work that was required to be a manager stuck in overnight. If you've never worked in QT, to move up you must do overnights. It is non-negotiable.
Oh yeah, that's where my night shift life started. Was QT.
Yep, you have to either be an RA or an NA, and both do nights. You have no option. And then if you want to get higher up, you have to then go into the ER system, which is where you cover other people's shifts, and that's way easier to do as an employee than it is as a manager. When you don't know what my experience was never knowing exactly the little fucking detail that the manager of whatever store I was covering needed in his store. Some managers wanted all your stuff front-faced. That would make them happy. Some managers, getting their trash taken care of before they came in, that's what made them happy. But it was always a roll of the dice. You never knew which one. And that instability, that unknown factor, always being there, led me to having to go on Klonopin, led me to having to...
Klonopin's hardcore shit.
Led me to having anxiety and depression so high that the only way that I could function at work this is back when I had first discovered fucking creepypastas. I would listen to them at work in the middle of night solely because it made my anxiety go so high, I became numb. And that was my way of functioning, was becoming numb.
Yeah.
Because I don't do alcohol, and I don't do any recreational anything.
Right.
So the only options I have are shit like that. That's
is sending your dopamine levels into overdrive to numb yourself out, to deal with it.
Correct.
Right.
And that was the only way that I was able to function. It is very strange to me that as an adult in America, a land where I'm supposed to have whatever opportunities I want, the only time that I actually had that time to be stable and well enough financially was when I put my mental health on the line so much that it was destroying me. And I'm not even a parent. So consider for a moment anybody who is in the more ghetto sides of America. Take people in Montclair, back where I grew up. Take them being financially stable for the first time in their lives because they are putting in the 60-hour work week at the managerial position they're able to do.
And then working a second job for 20 hours more a week after that.
Yeah, if that is a thing that they have to, if they have a family, likely that's what they have to do. I didn't, so I didn't have to do that. But if I did, I would. I worked out the numbers for the minimum wage in a video once. Those are scary numbers. So just consider the fact that in impoverished America, which right now is also Black America, because statistically that's what they are right now, you have all of those issues that I dealt with on top of over-policing, on top of
underfunding education.
On top of underfunded education, which, BT dubs, underfunded education is a thing you can't really escape either, because guess how education is funded? It's funded through property taxes.
Property taxes.
And since property taxes funded, if you're in a low-income area, that area can never get better without being gentrified. But if you gentrify it, then you displace the local population.
And this is what happened in New York.
And where the fuck do they go? And I understand there's some people that are going to go, well, I was able to buy a house and get, sell it later when it got gentrified. So in my case, it worked out cool. For the one person it worked out for, there were 10 that got displaced. I don't give a fuck.
And this is what happened in New York, to the point that they were literally buying the housing projects from the city and then turning them to high-rise condos. We have such a high rate of homelessness in New York because gentrification shot up property. It shot up the price of property. Now, are our schools better for it? Yeah. Higher property tax.
That's what happens. But who's going to the schools now? Not the
However,
people that were there before.
There are still places in Queens.
What happens then is that once the property taxes go up somewhere else and the schools get better, then people was like, okay, well, I want to be able to send my kids to the good schools. And then what happens is that the people who live in the affluent parts of towns don't want the kids coming in there. And then we have the issue with busing, which is why white people rioted here back in the 1970s.
Now, we also have the issue of schools are done on a zoned location. So when you move a lower economic families out of these regions and put in more affluent families, the children are no longer zoned to go to the good schools.
Right.
Now, they also still do redlining in New York City. And if y'all don't know what redlining is, redlining back in the day was allowed realtors to redline out a black neighborhood and tell white people this is the redline neighborhood. Now,
happens in Louisville.
Now, it's illegal to redline. However, it is still common practice for real estate agents to decrease the value of a house in a black neighborhood, depreciate their the appraisal values, and not show white people houses in black neighborhoods. They won't show them. They won't put them up for listing, effectively redlining them. So if we can't get people buying these houses, then nobody's paying property tax. Their roads aren't getting fixed. Their schools aren't getting funded. And because it's considered a lower income area, your cost of living is less. Therefore, what you get paid for your job is less. You are not going to make the same in rural Kentucky for the same job that you are going to make in New York City because the cost of living is different.
And let's go into the beginnings of the credit score system in the United States for fun. Just for fun.
Yeah.
You know.
Where one of the biggest indicators in your credit score is your zip code.
Yes, it is your zip code. And and the last little numbers after your zip code play a big part in this. Because when you get to the Midwest and the South, these neighborhoods are still segregated. So they can figure out by those last little numbers after your zip code exactly which side of the segregation line you fall on.
Mm-hmm. So, everyone listening, whether you're in rural America or in the big city, white people, racism hurts all of us.
And what do? They take rural America, who ain't doing any fucking better financially than Black America is at this point.
Right.
And then they pit each other against each other. It's Black people that are welfare queens. It's Black people that are rioting. It's Black causes causing violence in the street. It's Black people that want socialism and make sure you can never be a millionaire if you win the lottery one day and move to Florida, because for some reason everyone in Florida wins the fucking lottery. Like, that's the only fucking reason to live there. They now put rural America against the Black community, who should be fighting together because they're literally being disparaged in the same fucking ways. And then when that stopped working, when people started looking around and when Trump's a piece of shit, what do? They didn't start shooting Black people, but they started speeding up the rate of killing Black people. Mm-hmm. What are two of the biggest jobs in rural America to do well for yourself? Military and police officers. Yep. Those are the two most stable jobs in rural America.
Which is funny because there is an argument that has been made in other nations before that the role of the police officers is to have the more stable life in order to maintain that social order that is so disparaging.
Yeah.
However, let's go look at your local police department and see how many of them have been arrested for domestic violence, how many of them have lost custody of their children, how many of them have been to rehab, just how many of them would pass a drug test.
Yeah, I'm telling you, rural America, they're fucking you. Listen, the Duke boys, they weren't riding away from Black people. They were riding away from police.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you guys.
You know who shocked me? Who was the dude in the rancher compound? Oh, I can't think of his name.
Clive Bundy.
When Bundy is like, fuck the police, fuck these people. That is what middle America should be doing, because they're coming for your shit just like they're coming for everyone else's. But no, what do? What do? You come from a long-ass family who were probably slave owners or at minimum segregated Black people. And even if your family sits there and says, I don't see color and we're not racist, there are still these micro... No, I'm not know where you're going.
They did not come from slave owners. No, you know who came from the slave owners? The people came from slave owners. They own fucking Dow and, Fruit of the Loom. They're still doing well.
Yep. No,
homie. You were the one who didn't get a job. Your ancestors couldn't get work because the people in power was trying to keep them,
what did they do with them? They made them sharecroppers. And the only difference between them and slaves was that they were allowed to live rent-free. They still had to give up their crops. Now, do not sit here and think that the microaggressions passed from generation to generation to generation really make you think you're not fucking racist.
Right.
Really make you think that you fucking feel when you sit here and say shit like, well, if these protesters just didn't destroy property. That's a fucking microaggression. And what you're actually saying is, I think that what's going on for Black people is not worth being angry over.
Yeah.
Also, this is a thing that happened in Atlanta that I found really interesting. Now, this is not me attempting to say, yes, riot and destroy everything. We'll wait until we see what's happening with the Supreme Court justice for when I start doing that. But...
road trip. I have a guillotine.
It's funny.
Don't ask where I got it.
It only takes about $1,200 to build a guillotine. That's a oddly specific number.
Actually, now with the holidays coming up, with all the 3D printing stuff, you can probably make it cheaper. Just saying.
3D.
Or, you can get a couple of ARs for the same price.
Oh, yeah, especially where we live.
But
they're having the 2-for-1 holiday sale.
Right.
But one thing that I will point out is that here in Atlanta, the protest had been happening for ages. I have a friend who I brought on my Twitch stream when I was doing the BLM fundraiser, who had been to the protests practically every single day. And the news was not focused on them. The fact that they were protesting was effectively accomplishing nothing because they weren't doing anything. Now, then, the one sleepy drunk guy, I can't remember his name, got shot in the parking lot. I do not remember his name.
At a Wendy's. At a Wendy's. And that's how bad it is. There have been so many that we can't remember which one is which.
No, it was easier to keep track at the beginning of this year, but what I found interesting is that the media was not covering our protests until the Wendy's burned.
Nope.
And
you guys have been protesting since George Floyd.
And as soon as the Wendy's burned, suddenly the news cameras were on us again. Suddenly it mattered again. So wait, hold on. What that is telling me, as a pragmatist, this is not me trying to advocate for anything one way or another, maybe potentially for legal reasons.
Yes, this all happens in Minecraft, by the way. Anything we're saying happens in Minecraft.
As a pragmatist, what that is telling me is that if you are protesting, but not breaking shit, you're effectively accomplishing nothing. And that's a scary thought.
I tell people this, I told people this from so long ago. Crown Heights, Brooklyn, in New York is a unbelievably segregated neighborhood. Literally, one street has a black community, and then the next street over is the Orthodox Jewish community. We had riots because a Orthodox Jewish man hit a child with his car. He was speeding. He had run a red light, hit a black child with his car, and their private ambulance system, the Orthodox private ambulance system, picked up this driver who had minor injuries because they refused to treat a black boy. They were not an Orthodox Jew, therefore they were not one of their own. The driver, I think, was charged with, like, not even reckless endangerment. It was like driving on a suspended license or some shit. And the ambulance drivers were not charged at all. You know what changed that in New York City? The fucking Crown Heights riots. The Crown Heights riots changed that shit to where now whatever ambulance is on the scene from whatever company in New York City has a legal right to assist whoever is worse off. Whether because it's considered racist and it was considered exclusionary. It was the Crown Heights riots that stopped that. And this is why I tell people, look, if we could sit and work this shit out and fucking bang out these laws, that's great. But I'm not above destroying shit. I'm not above a riot. Because I've actually seen where it's helped and where it's worked. That was one of my earliest memories in childhood. Was Stonewall. I used to go drinking at Stonewall. Granted, I was not around when the riots happened. However, I used to drink in that bar. You want to fucking tell me rioting don't stop shit? I drank at a place that allows me to be a pansexual publicly, openly, and be with whoever I want to be. I literally drank at a place that it was okay for my ex-girlfriend as a trans woman to be in the street and not be arrested for being trans. I am not above a riot. I am not above burning some shit down. I'm not above hitting a motherfucking cop that's coming from me for no goddamn ass reason. Because it changes shit.
It changes shit. People think that, the civil rights movement was just, holding
was
hands,
peaceful.
Marching. No, this shit. It was Watts riots. It was Compton. It was Chicago. It was all the cities that started burning once our leaders started getting killed.
And we're being asked, what can be done without destroying our country? We've asked. We have asked. We have petitioned. We have gone to the Supreme Court. We've tried.
I'm just going to go ahead and say this right now because there is a piece of human garbage attempting to say stuff in my chat.
Oh.
So
I'm not watching your chat right now.
So, Z Commander, it is not up to me to change your mind. I could have that conversation with you at some point, though I am not going to have it right now. However, if you would like to continue saying dumb shit, then I will be the one. I will not let any of my mods take the satisfaction of being the one that knocks you out of this chat. For fun. I will just do it for sport, because I think it will be hilarious. And then you can sit there and cope with your, he didn't debate me! I don't give a shit. I actually don't care. So, you want to
So I'm going to take a page from Surus. Because everyone leave Buzz because I'm getting the satisfaction of this motherfucker. What are y'all going to do when the cities are burned? Ask Montgomery, ask Tulsa, ask New York, ask Chicago, ask Los Angeles. We rebuild them.
Mm-hmm. Black people built them up. We can rebuild them. You just gonna
ask Atlanta. Ask Atlanta. Literally ask any one of us from where we're from what our cities did. We rebuilt. If Tulsa can rebuild after the fucking Tulsa massacre, literally any city in this country can. And with that, you're gone. Like, no. Nobody, please take that one, because that was satisfying. Detryck, is there anything that you would want us to know about the protest that's not being reported, or that can help with the protest, or that's just being misconstrued by the media, by the cops?
Yeah. Oh my God, there's so much. First and foremost, right? First and foremost, no, Louisville is not burning. I can't tell you how many times I've seen all this rioting. I'm like, no,
God, that's so satisfying.
No,
Seeing
yeah.
it was timed out for 300 seconds.
Oh, I just block. I'm just like, yeah, fuck off, because I'll forget that 300 seconds pass and they'll come back. So I just block.
Oh, I want them to come back. Then I get the satisfaction of doing it twice.
Yeah.
I do. Like Louisville, we're the movement isn't just black people too. I don't understand why people also think that it's just angry black people. No, we have a strong immigrant community. We have a strong community of progressives here in Louisville of all colors who are together. We're all angry because you shouldn't have to live in fear that you're going to be home asleep and someone kicks in your door and kills you. Yeah, it's I don't have the words. I do not have the words for just everything that's been going on. There's been so much positive that's going on too. You know, you can go down to the protests and get free food. I mean, there are people who are cooking food for people, and there's music. You know, and it's not just angry shouting. It's we are here as community. This is what we do as community. We love each other. We take care of each other. We feed each other. We have fun with each other. But we're here for a purpose, and you're going to listen to us. That's what Louisville's saying. And Mayor Greg Fisher doesn't want to listen. You know, yeah, and people talk, oh, you know, he's a Democrat and he's this and that. Listen, guys. Sometimes the people that you think are on your side aren't on your side.
Yeah.
You know, he's ramped up gentrification. He is 100% tearing up.
Let me tell you, gentrification is the death of a city. There is literally nothing good that comes out of it.
Yeah. And Louisville has a vibrant community. Like, Louisville is a very soulful city. We have so much shit going on. We had a great music scene before gentrification. We've had, you know, it's all he cares about are his land developer buddies and the police.
I want to touch on this. Hercules, this doesn't work. This doesn't work. One, Americans don't have the resolve for a national general strike. They just don't. We're selfish, we're petulant, and we're impatient.
And honestly, a lot of places, it's illegal.
Yeah, it's illegal. When you're dealing with a state that backs unions, a strike is the greatest thing. But when you live in a state that's right to work, a general strike is death. It's starvation. It's homelessness. Yeah. And they don't have to tell you. And they don't have to tell you why.
I got fired from Aldi for lack of empathy.
Really?
The exact reason given. Lack of empathy.
Jeez.
Did you not give up your stool for another worker? Like, on a break? Like, what's going on?
So I don't want to take away from your point. I was trying to add in that since I'm in Georgia, so it's...
but this is fascinating. Please.
Georgia's a right-to-work state, which means they can effectively fire you for anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kentucky, too.
Tennessee as well.
So the story about how I actually got fired is that a customer slipped and fell. This is like, I've been working for maybe 8 months at Aldi, so like I'm pretty firmly established here. But a customer slipped and fell on a box that a coworker of mine had put down because I was working register. And when you're at Aldi and working register, you don't leave the register except for maybe one pallet if you're in the morning. So, I'm working register, customer slips and falls. Her friend comes to my register and says, my friend just slipped and fell on one of your boxes. Okay, ma'am, what would you like me to do about that? And then she gets angry. Now, for the record, if any of you know Georgia, the city this happened in was Cartersville. Ideally, that will paint this picture better. So, now that we understand that it's the crack city of, well, it's not Ackworth, so it's close. But anyway.
It's It's close.
Close
Like,
enough.
it's close.
So, well, actually, no. There are plenty of houses where that should happen, and never mind. I'm lying.
I love watching Cyrus go through childhood memories live. On
Childhood. This was like 3 years ago. I have a video. Not even 3 years ago. No, 2 years ago. I have a video on my channel where I was like, I talked about getting fired, but I didn't mention the why because I was being like, I'm going to be as vague as possible just in case. Now I'm established enough on YouTube where I'm just like, no, let's talk about this shit. So when the customer slipped and fell, the district manager and the store manager were in at the time. My store manager, after about a week and a half after this incident, got fired, but I don't know the actual story behind why he got fired. I know that he had been doing a lot of work for the company, but something happened and he got kicked out. I don't know if it was related to this incident. I do know, though, that a month after this incident, after the reports had been filed, after everything, my district manager brings me in. So it wasn't even my store manager firing me. The district just fucking brought me in because they were involved with the incident. District manager brings me in and goes, so do you remember the situation that happened last time? And I said, yeah. And he goes, do you remember the conversation we had when it happened? And I said, yeah, you said that if another incident happened that I would be fired. Well, the initial incident counted as an incident. So then he goes, well...
No, this is right to work. This is
the customer,
massive right to work. Okay.
Like, the customer said in their report when they were filing for insurance and everything that an Aldi employee showed a lack of empathy towards her. The employee she was referring to was you, and we have the camera footage to show that that is in fact what happened.
That you were like, what the fuck you want me to do about it? Like, okay, I'm not a medic, bitch.
You're like, because this is your next strike. Sorry, this is my third strike. The first one was because the till was $20 short once. But he goes, so because this happened and because this is your third strike, you are going to be terminated. And I'm gonna be honest, it was weird. Because what I should have felt was despair. Like, holy shit, this is horrible.
You
I
had
lost
that
my job. It was that breath of fresh air. Like, no, I understand, sir. I understand. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you.
And you know
I don't have to do this anymore. Okay.
I'm gonna go file for unemployment now. Goodbye.
Well, I didn't do that because I didn't know how to even start that process because nobody fucking knows
which is another hugely complicated process, and you usually get turned down the first time, and then you've got to appeal it, and that's another way the system sits and fucks you. Is that no matter what kind of government shit, whether it be disability, unemployment, they will always reject you the first time, forcing you to an appeal. And then you hear something like appeal, and that they're gonna have representatives. You think, holy shit, this is law. I'm not a lawyer.
No.
So
this is another way the system fucks you out.
So when this happened, I effectively was fired for lack of empathy because the second incident on my record was lack of empathy, and the third incident was, well, she wrote about it again, so lack of empathy. Basically, it felt like I was collateral damage because a Karen got real upset.
Yes,
that's
what it was.
That her friend slipped, and I was just, we have to get rid of somebody, so it's going to be you. But either way, when somebody tries to say, oh, just find another job, oh, just do whatever, in right to work, that's not as easy to do as you think. In right to work, they can get rid of you for any fucking reason.
Anything.
It doesn't matter.
And then when you have the next job calling for a reference, while they can't turn around and say exactly why they fired you, they sure as fuck can drop some real leading ass fucking language and be like, well, this, and that, and it's a right to work state. So if I literally fart in the wrong fucking direction, they can say that I was literally making it a physical toxic work environment.
Yeah.
We are coming up at almost 2 hours, so I do want to ask Detryck, can you tell us more about the Louisville Bail Fund? That's linked in the profile. You did kind of say, hey, this is like super important.
Yes.
Please tell us about that.
All right. So yeah, Louisville Bail Fund is super important to for us to be able to do the activism, do the protesting that we need to do here to enact some kind of change. So Shared Farm Mod, please donate to the bail fund. It does come in handy. I've been bailed out from the bail fund because they're just snatching people off the street for no reason. Like when I was arrested, there was an order to disperse. Me and 60 other people were like, okay, cool, we're going to leave. So we left, and there was a line of cops that surrounded the park, you know, while we were walking. And they were like, oh, you weren't dispersing. Like we were literally walking to our cars to leave. And we all got arrested that night. So that's the kind of things that's been going on since day one. And keeping people out of jail helps so much on so many levels. You know, no one should just be sitting in jail because they can't pay to get out. You know, so please donate to the Louisville Bail Fund. Please share that link as well.
Yeah, that's down below the video. Detryck, anything else that us who can't be in Louisville can do to help?
Yep, the bail fund is a major thing. Another thing is donate to. There's a network of. I wish I had the link, or wish I had there's.
We'll figure it out later, and I'll throw it in.
There's a network of street medics that they constantly need supplies, whether it's bandages, tourniquets, water, Gatorade, things like that. Just Louisville Bail Fund, the Street Medics Fund. Also, shoot, throw some money my way. I can get some ammo and body armor.
And hey, that shit comes in handy. Last thing, Detryck, what if you had to pick one thing for the rest of the country to understand from the inside looking out? What would it be in Louisville?
I just want people to understand that what's going on in Louisville isn't just about Louisville. Nobody should have to die in their bed for nothing. You know, it's truly the instance of, you know, injustice somewhere is a threat to justice everywhere. You know, so whether it's here in Louisville or Kenosha or Minneapolis, or even if it's, you know, in the suburbs of, I don't know, Seattle or wherever, you know, us fighting the fights that we're fighting helps protect you.
Cyrus, any last thoughts from you?
Well, I'm just going to restate what I'm typing out in my chat right now.
Oh, are we fighting in the chat again? Okay.
Which is that I want to be anti-riot. That is what I want to be. I would like to be anti-riot.
Yes.
I would love to be. However, riots do not come out of thin air. Riots are a direct result of material conditions that lead to people feeling like they are in an unjust environment. I would love to be in a material environment that allowed me to be anti-riot. However, I do not live in that environment, and I cannot argue against the effectiveness of what riots have done, and especially after what happened in Atlanta, between the peaceful protests and then finally the violence. I don't condone the violence, but I cannot say that riots are not effective, and I cannot say that they are not justified in many cases. I cannot, because I would be lying. If you, the way that I frame it in the fucking video that's going out on Monday, if you have an argument against riots for just reasons, like a family member was killed unjustly and you are rioting for their right to due process, or essential rights have been stripped from you, like rights to abortion, rights to gay marriage, and you are going to argue that you should peaceful protest but not riot. My question to you is, what is your argument for the peaceful ceding of human rights to your state? What is your positive argument for the peaceful ceding of your human rights to the state? If you say that, no, I'm not for that, then you are effectively pro-riot, because you are not pro-peaceful ceding of your rights.
Are your children, are they worth rioting for? If someone came and killed your child, would you not riot?
Would you not raise hell? Would
Right.
you not raise hell for this? Your family member gets killed. Your best friend gets killed. Your spouse gets killed. Your child gets killed. Or a system is about to come into place that threatens to do those very things.
Yes.
You're going to tell me that it is not worth it to fight for that. You're going to honestly try to make the argument that you would not fight for those things. And if you are, then you are not pro-liberty. You are pro the status quo, whatever the status quo may be, so long as the status quo is not disrupted. So continue being a status quo warrior and completely ignoring the actual ideals that America was founded on when we engaged in a goddamn revolution.
Oh, yeah. You know, by literally rioting and
1776
throwing
was a riot.
tea in a fucking harbor. That's why they call it the 1776 riot. I want to address conservatives who are like, you know, but this, but that, but they're asking too much. And those who are having a hard time identifying with the points that the two of you made. Would you do it for your son? your mother, your father, your partner. You have a gay person, a black person, somebody with mental illness, a trans person in your life. And even if granted, a black person can't turn around and say, I'm not a black person and hide that. But for everything else, even if they don't come out and say it, they are there. So before you sit here and think that this does not apply to me, this does not apply to anyone I love, it does. And maybe you need to take a step back at yourself and ask yourself why they don't feel they can trust me enough to fight for them, to let me know who they are. And if you think that it stops with the black community, the Hispanic community, women, the mentally ill, you are not the 1%. You are not one of them.
And they will not be fighting for you.
They will not only will they not be fighting for you, the only reason they haven't gone after you first is because you're the ones that bolster them the most.
Also, fun
And
argument.
when you, fun
sorry.
argument. Are we arguing now?
Fun argument. Very fun argument. Every single person, for the most part, not for the most part, but every conservative that is anti-riot is also pro-military. They hold the position that violence cannot solve judicial matters, and yet they are pro-military, in which we use violence to solve judicial matters in other countries.
No, but let's look at where we use that violence.
Oh, right, on brown people. Sorry.
Colombia,
Forgot.
Venezuela, Iraq, Afghanistan, Iran. Not many of those motherfuckers look like me. And it's not what they first think of when they hear those countries. Mm-hmm. If you genuinely think that you are one of them, wait until we're all dead and you will very quickly realize that there is nobody left to save you, because the ones that could have were the ones you wouldn't.
Right. Or flip side, how many of you are atheists that are listening to this? Conservative atheists. Oh, you think they're just going to let you slide for not believing in their God?
You really think Mike Pence, when that camp comes around, is it going to look at you and literally call you the fucking devil, and that you and your kind are the reason gay people exist? Do you think they give a fuck if you voted for them? No, you're not furthering their agenda. You're not furthering their money. And the moment you stop being valuable to their pockets is the moment your life doesn't matter. Mark my words on that. Sirs, do you have anything coming up soon? I know you have. I know you have raid night that you're going to be streaming here in a few minutes. So
yes, that's going to be at 7:30. I will be streaming the prep, and then
so that's an hour from now. Yeah.
Yep, that's
I'm like, God damn it, you're an hour ahead. Fuck what? God, fuck.
That's going to be on Twitch, not on YouTube.
You're doing Twitch.
That is strictly game. The only gaming that I do on YouTube is when I do stuff with fans.
Yeah.
So that is going to be coming up there. Monday's video that is live for patrons at the end of the night is on Tucker Carlson. He recently made some pretty disparaging comments about Ruth Bader Ginsburg, where the best thing he could say about her is that death is bad whenever anyone dies. But then argued, it's just one justice. It doesn't matter.
It's just one.
So I just ended up covering that video. And a lot of the things that I said about riots and things are said in that video as well. That's why they are so close on my mind with how forgetful I am over most things. But that video is going live on Monday, and then Wednesday, this video is not produced yet, so if you're a patron, don't go looking for it. It's not there. Trust me, I know. Monday, I will have an episode on fascism specifically, and how the United States, as it currently sits up, stacks up to a couple of the common points, not a couple, actually 28 common points of fascism, 14 of which are from a businessman known as, I have the source up here, Lawrence W. Britt. Who has written on fascism before. So I'm going to be using 14 of his points, and I have another set of 14 points from a completely different historian that I'm going to be using as well, juxtaposing the United States to both of them to say, hey, do we have a fascist in office yet? My argument is yes. Argument is yes, we do.
Yes.
I am fine saying that he is a wannabe fascist because he wishes he had more power than he did, but especially after his recent shit he said about not willingly ceding power. Yeah, no, he's a fascist. He's just a fascist. So that is going to be Wednesday's video, and then I don't know.
You're so much better with your patrons. Like, I get my videos out the night before. I'm like, fuck, okay, it's done.
I used to do that. That's what I used to do. I got better after month. You can ask my patrons. There were several times where the video would just come out 3 hours before, and they just wouldn't get it. And
I give them at least 12. Okay, I give them at least 12.
But I've gotten better about that. Now they get it at least usually 2 to 3 days in advance, for the most part.
Detryck, we know you're not a YouTuber or really a content creator, but is there anything going on? Is there any help that you would like to request for the protesters and just for Louisville in general?
Bail fund, guys.
Bail fund.
Bail fund networks.
That bail fund, yes, please. About close to 150 people were arrested last night. That's just
and you ain't
night.
hearing about that anymore. They're not reporting that anymore.
Oh, fun fact: a Kentucky State Representative Attica Scott was arrested as well.
Oh, shit.
Yes.
Okay.
And they actually LMPD try to blame a fire, like an attempted arson, on her.
Kentucky's weird like that. Like, either your state reps are getting arrested in the protest, or they're literally not prosecuting cops who kill black people. There's no fucking gray area in Kentucky.
Right.
I will not be releasing a video next Thursday. I'm not going to give it up because then it's kind of doxing some shit, but we have an important family event next Thursday going on, so I will not be releasing a video. However, the Thursday after that will be Deliver Us from David, the cautionary tale of the rise and fall of David Silverman. I will be covering David's fall from the court case on through to now. And I'm going to be calling out some shit in the atheist community about what we're allowing to past our gates and what we're allowing as a representative for us. So this one's going to be a drama one. We're going to throw a little drama. Drama. And not... Oh, God damn it. I forgot when. I got to look at calendars. Fuck, I don't want to do that. Is that... No, that's August. God damn it. Let's see. I think it's at the end of October. I'm going to be having Matt Dillahunty on to talk about sex.
Awesome.
And how it's a social construct and kink shaming. So that's what's coming up from me. I'm going to be taking this week off. So you guys will, I mean, I'll still yell on Twitter and Facebook and shit. Like, I'll still yell there. But you won't get to have me yelling on a video. So I want to thank you guys both for coming out. Cyrus. And thank you, Cyrus, for multi-streaming this. Thank you. That was so fucking generous of you to offer, and I appreciate that so much.
Hopefully, if you guys are watching this, either right now or post after things go live, please head over to Jen's channel and actually check out that. Not only because I would like you to go subscribe over to Jen's channel, but also Jen has probably been a lot more diligent in putting links in their description.
Yes.
For things that are important. I have not, because I came in from repairing an electrical fence, and it was still live when I repaired it. So I was holding the wire.
Oh, now this explains what the hell was going on. Okay,
yes,
okay.
Like, Growlith barreled through my my mom and stepdad's electrical fence.
Growlith is like the most chill fucking dog too. The fact, like, I didn't even think Growlith had that kind of energy.
Oh, she's a bullet. She is a bullet. We live on our property alone is 2 acres of just forest, so she just bullets.
She just goes back and forth.
So Growlith barreled through the electrical fence, got herself hurt, but because she barreled through it, she got tangled in. If an animal touches the electrical fence, normally it's just a quick yip and then they're back. Because she barreled through, she got tangled in.
She got wrapped up in it.
Which also meant that all the wiring got screwed up and the spokes got broken. So I had to sit there and repair all that, and I still got to go pay for the spokes to get those replaced. But yeah, no, I didn't know how to turn off the fence, but I wanted to repair it so the goats couldn't get out. So I just did it by hand, and that's not.
I actually checked. I think you have my link in there anyway. So.
Well, I have the link to your channel in there.
Yeah, I was like, you at least kept up with that.
I will say this though, I did learn that apparently after about 5 seconds of holding electrical fence wiring, depending on the voltage, it stops hurting if you make sure that your hand is cupped. That's a thing I learned. That's a good thing I know.
Oh, great. Please don't try this. Please. Nobody.
Don't do that. It's just a thing
Don't do this. Detryck, I want to really thank you for coming on. You and I have been trying to get together and figure this out for like months. And thank you for actually giving a voice to the people on the ground and not just some hyperbolic shit that the fucking media is reporting. Thank you for actually sitting here and saying, no, this is not what's going on. They're hyping this up. They're making us look bad. Thank you for being that voice. Because literally they keep arresting people that are trying.
Yeah.
Thank
you very much for having me on.
Of course.
It's been fun.
We always have fun. We always have fun. Please stay safe as well. Because if I have to come up there, if I have to put like pants on and drive that many hours to come fucking save your ass, like there will be no more Louisville. Like I'll be like, we're done.
It's gotten a little hairy a couple times, but I keep a cool head on me, and I've been all right.
Yeah, this is why we send you out and not me, because it's like, oh look, we've had protests for 3 days. Jen didn't like what's going on, and now Louisville does not exist. Okay, there we go. Everyone, thank you for tuning in. This was a longer one, but the three of us could sit and fucking talk for like hours on this shit. And we've all got shit to do. So thank you guys for joining us. And
so I should probably hit the end button as well, right?
yeah, that would be good before I start like
Hold on. So we're in the back room now, and Yumi is here. And
Yumi is like the most elegant ass motherfucking lady ever. Like Yumi belongs in a first class room on the fucking Titanic. She's such a goddamn lady, okay? Like she's elegant as fuck. That's the cat I'm stealing.
There's the end screen.